Welcome to Darkwatch Stories, where we bring to life the chills, the shadows, and the mysteries that linger in the dark. If you enjoy spine-tingling stories and want to support the journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Now, sit back, dim the lights, and let's step into tonight's story. My name is Mac. I used to be a sales rep type. Straight smile, rehearsed words, hollow but polished. I spent my days under fluorescent lights, selling things no one really needed to people who barely cared. Back then, my biggest worries were meeting quarterly targets and whether the coffee machine in the break room would ever work again. That world is long gone, buried under dust and broken glass. That world lies dead beneath shattered glass and twisted steel. I don't sell dreams anymore. I dig through what's left of them. People call me a scavenger, though they prefer fancy names like retriever or contractor, as if pretending the old order still matters. Civilization is a ghost now, and I'm the one sent to chase its remains through the ruins, trading danger for whatever keeps us alive one more day. The job's simple, dangerously simple. You need food, batteries, medicine tools, anything still worth having, you come to me. I walk into the ruins, dig through the dark, and if I don't get shot, crushed, or bitten, I bring it back. There's no haggling, no favors. You name it, I price it. Don't like the deal, try your luck out there yourself, see how long you last before the shadows find you first. Most people still cling to their tiny safe zones, blind to what waits beyond the walls. They build fences, some from metal, others from fear, and pretend the world outside stopped existing. But beyond the ruins and drowned highways lies only decay, bone rust, and a silence so heavy it feels alive pressing against your ears like it's trying to crawl inside. That's the real world now. I've wandered through malls with their roofs caved in, vines swallowing the escalators, and vending machines packed with mummified rats. Pharmacies stand hollow, picked clean, long ago by thieves or by something worse. Once on the 5th floor of an office tower, I found a mattress still made blanket, folded neat. Someone had slept there, and for a moment it felt like the world had only just ended. A blanket folded neatly at the foot of the bed, candles melted to stubs along the windowsill. Someone had tried to make that ruin feel like home. Everything else was dust. Yet the room felt freshly abandoned, as if its owner might return any second. I didn't sleep for 2 nights after. This job teaches you caution, then strips away your warmth. I used to talk a lot. Now I mostly listen to silence. These days, I only speak when I have to. I live beyond what's left of Ridge Run, a few stubborn buildings, a barter market built from scraps, and endless arguments over junk ownership. I keep my distance in a shack far enough that no one visits uninvited. Tin, roof, wood stove, 1 chair. It's small, silent, and mine and out here that's as close to peace as anyone gets. And then there's Barry, my dog, my shadow. I found him about 5 years back, when the world was still collapsing but not yet gone. I was chasing rumors of an old co-op farm said to have sealed grain silos. The land was all dry vines and broken fences, the remains of a winery once proud. I wasn't looking for a companion that day, but somehow I found one anyway. Someone claimed the place still had solar panels, maybe power, maybe a working fridge. It was probably a lie, but I went anyway. Back then, I still believed I could rebuild something, maybe plant crops, maybe start over. Desperation makes you dream stupid dreams. What I found was ruin. 1 barn burned to ash, the house gutted, and hope collapsing with the roof above it. I was sure the place had been stripped bare years ago, but I kept searching. Hope's a stubborn thing. Behind the old greenhouse, I heard a faint, wet sound, sticky and slow, followed by a thin whine. My first thought was an injured animal, a coyote, maybe a raccoon, but something in that sound felt wrong, almost human. Normally, I'd have walked away. Curiosity gets people killed out here. But the sun was low and I was planning to sleep in the cellar anyway. So I checked. Near the back wall, a hole gaped like an open wound. The earth caved in around it. Inside, half buried in a mess of rotting pulp, was a tiny puppy shivering, stuck, and barely alive. He was drenched in red and purple juice, eyes half open, trembling like he'd been trapped for hours. At first, I thought it was blood and that he was dying, but the truth was stranger. He'd fallen into a pile of rotting berries, mulberries, maybe grapes or plums, long turned to wine. The air reeked of sour fruit and decay. He was a sticky, shaking mess, but still breathing. He smelled like sour wine and wet fur when I pulled him out. I wiped him clean with my sleeve, wrapped him in a torn tarp, and waited. He didn't fight, just trembled in silence. I fed him a strip of jerky, not expecting much. That night I thought he'd die. But by morning, he was still breathing, quiet, steady. No whimper, no bark, just those eyes watching me, as if asking whether I'd keep him or let him go. I kept him no grand reason, just a quiet need not to be alone anymore. Maybe I didn't want to abandon something that still needed saving. I named him Barry, after the mess I found him in. He's more than a pet now, sharp, calm, loyal. He smells rot before I see it, tracks trails through tall grass, and only barks when death is close. I've seen him freeze solid at the faintest scent of danger, saved my life more than once. We move like a single shadow. I clear the rooms, check the traps, open what's left to open. He watches the dark behind me. When a building's half collapsed, I send him first. He slips through cracks and shattered doors, and if he growls, I turn back. Always. If he returns silent, I know it's safe. We share every meal, every cold night in the same tent. I talk to him more than to anyone else. He's the only one who truly listens. No lies, no demands, just quiet understanding. The world outside is shattered anyway. Cities drowned or burned, leaving nothing but smoke, ash, and the sound of our own breathing. Towns like Ridge Run barely hold together, just clusters of survivors patching up what's left. Some answer to warlords, others to prophets, with bloodshot eyes. A few trust no one and shoot anything that moves. There's no law, no signal, no government left to care. If you need something from beyond your walls, you find someone like me. The last line between want and ruin. Requests come in all shapes: an old wrench, a car part, a missing brother, a bottle of antibiotics, or maybe a radio that still talks. I charge by distance and danger. Not every job's worth dying for. Some are stupid, some hopeless, some just a death wish wrapped in cash. But if it sounds doable and the pay's fair, I pack my gear and go. I've crossed chemical zones, gutted factories and highways swallowed by weeds, faced feral dogs, raider gangs, and the lost souls who forgot their own names. I keep going because it's what I do best, and because Barry's with me. Out here, skill keeps you alive, but loyalty keeps you human. I've been doing this long enough to know what keeps you breathing and what gets you killed. There's no manual for scavenging in a world that's already ended. No training, no boss, no backup, just your choices and whether they save you or bury you. So I wrote my own handbook, one rule at a time. The first one's simple, but it'll keep you alive. Rule number 1, don't trust anybody. Sounds easy, but it's the hardest law to live by. Out here, the dead are predictable. It's the living you have to fear. The infected show their hunger, plain but people. They smile while weighing your worth, whether to rob you, feed on you, or toss you out as bait. Trust is a currency more dangerous than bullets. You'll meet people who seem perfectly normal, clean clothes, steady voices, a friendly fire burning. For a moment, you'll think you've found safety. Don't buy it. A fresh infected can look more human than you or me. They laugh, talk, and smile right up until that first taste of blood, then all that warmth turns to hunger. After that first bite, the change comes fast. The eyes glaze, nails darken, teeth loosen. I learned it the hard way. Barry and I were north of Ridge Run, heading toward a small cluster of houses I'd seen from the highway. It looked untouched, peaceful even. We hadn't eaten in a day and a half, and hope more than hunger pushed us to take a look. We found a small cottage just off the road, curtains still hanging, porch swept clean, almost domestic. Then a man stepped out. He looked healthy, too healthy. Hair neat, clothes tidy, eyes calm. No tremors, no fever's glassy stare. He raised his hands, smiling, and said, "You look like you could use something warm." Behind me. Barry growled low, his instincts cutting through the man's perfect act. I should have trusted Barry's warning, but the man was calm, convincing. Said he'd been hiding alone for weeks, that he still had coffee. Coffee? Who the hell has coffee anymore? He poured me a cup anyway. The water was cloudy, but the smell was real, almost comforting, like a memory. I was about to thank him when he smiled, and a molar slipped from his gums, plinking into the cup. The tooth hit the cup with a soft clink, like a pebble in a bowl. He stared at it, dazed, as if his body had betrayed him. Then his hand jerked, and his mouth stretched too wide, black gums rotting from within. I didn't wait. The shot echoed, the cup exploded, steam and decay twisting together in the air like a dying breath. Barry barked once, sharp, certain, then went quiet. We searched the house and found another body upstairs, half-eaten, the soft parts gone. Whatever had happened, it wasn't recent. I closed the door and left it shut. That was the moment rule number 1 became truth. Don't trust anybody. Not the calm ones, not the kind ones, because even smiles rot eventually. If you didn't know them before the world fell apart, they're a risk. Even the infected can act human until they can't. A few days later, Barry and I found another house. Pink balloons tied to chairs, a half-eaten cake on the table, paper hats lined up neatly. A birthday party frozen in time. The banner read, "Happy 7th," written in cheerful pink paint, mocking the silence that followed. The floor was coated in something dark and sticky. The smell hit first, a sick mix of sugar and meat. Barry whimpered as we stepped inside, tail low. I told him to stay close, though he already knew. The horde must have come fast, maybe drawn by laughter or a song. I could almost picture it, parents lighting candles, children laughing, a birthday tune turning into screams. Then came the first scream, sharp, human, and final. Chairs toppled a table, splintered chaos, frozen mid-motion. In the kitchen, I saw small footprints pressed into smeared icing. The kids had tried to run, maybe hide, but it didn't matter. When the parents turned, the rest was inevitable. The freshly infected always go for the ones they love first. Always. There's no sound more haunting than a toy piano playing in an empty house. I found one upstairs still waiting before a little pink chair. When Barry brushed it, 3 broken notes echoed through the silence. Soft, fragile, endless. I pulled the batteries out, and for a long time after, neither of us made a sound. Barry sat beside me on the stairs, head resting on his paws. I told him, "This is why we never stay long, boy. Places like this get inside your head." My hand scratched behind his ears, and he looked up with that steady, knowing gaze. It's strange how a dog can say everything without words, just quiet understanding that keeps your heart from turning to stone. I did what I could. Buried the ones I could name, burn the rest. Fire doesn't ask questions, it just ends things cleanly. When it was over, I left the candles flickering on the table, their light trembling like ghosts that didn't want to leave. The cake's frosting melted and slid down like wax, and the Happy 7th banner swayed gently in the cold breeze. That small, broken celebration lingered like a memory refusing to die. 7, that number stuck with me. Old enough to dream, to laugh, to think the world was still safe. I wondered how long they'd left those decorations hanging, waiting for someone who'd never return. Barry nudged my hand, breaking the spell. I scratched his ear and whispered, "Yeah, let's go." The air outside felt heavy, like even the wind remembered what happened there. We walked until the house vanished behind the dead trees, the sun bleeding into the horizon. I never looked back. People say there's safety in numbers, but out here the wrong crowd is worse than the dead. Companionship can turn fatal fast. So I travel light with Barry and my rules. Trust no one, not until they've earned it. Take your time. Watch how people move, what they want, what they hide. If you ever find someone truly worth trusting, don't let them go. But most of the time, it's just you and your tools. Which brings me to rule #2 bring a jar of flies. Sounds crazy, I know. Folks stare when they see it hanging from my belt. But that jar, it saved my life more times than I can count. The infected zombies, unmentionables, whatever you call them, look human at first. That's what makes them deadly. No snarling, no limping, no horror movie signs. Just tired eyes, pale skin, a sluggish step. You talk to them, maybe even share a meal, and by the time you notice the change, it's already too late. Sometimes the signs take months to appear, and even then they're subtle. A stiff neck, yellow nails, breath that smells like rot. You tell yourself it's nothing until it's too late. That's why I trust the flies. They don't hesitate, don't doubt, don't lie. When they start buzzing, you listen or you die. You make it simple, a clear jar, maybe from old pickles. Punch a few holes in the lid, cover it with mesh, and drop in a bit of rotten meat. Just enough to keep the flies alive. Most days they drift lazily, quiet and harmless. But when something dead is near, something unseen, they go wild. The buzz turns frantic, wings slapping glass, like tiny alarms screaming, "Run!" That's when you know trouble's close, even before you smell it. That's your first warning when the jar starts to shake, something's wrong. But the real test comes when I open it. I only do that when my gut can't decide. Maybe the person looks too clean, too calm for this world. That's when I unclip the jar, set the flies free, and watch. They always know. They circle, hover, then land right where the rot hides, even when the eyes can't see it yet. Flies are nature's truth tellers. They sense decay long before it shows. The infection begins deep inside, blood organs, marrow. A person might laugh, breathe, even look alive, but the flies know better. When they gather landing, again and again on one spot, that's the sign. The body's still moving, but the soul's already gone. They just don't know it yet. I've seen it happen, kind faces, warm fires, soft voices, a camp that feels almost human again. They offer food, a smile, a story, but then the jar starts to rattle. The flies slam against the glass like sirens. I open the lid. If they go for the stew, fine. The latrine, fine. But if not, then it's time to move. But if they start circling a person, landing on their skin again and again, I'm gone. No questions, no second chances. Once I was running a job with a man named Ellis, west of the ridge, an old train yard full of rust and shadows. He seemed solid, steady aim, quiet, reliable. The kind of man you could almost trust. Almost. But out here, almost can still get you killed. By the third day, the jar wouldn't stay quiet. The buzz grew frantic, like they were warning me. During lunch, I opened it, just routine, I told myself. But the flies went straight for Ellis. Landed on his sleeve, his neck, even his eye, and he didn't flinch. My stomach dropped. I stood slowly, reaching for my pack, pretending nothing was wrong. He asked what was wrong, and I told him. "You've got a smell on you, Ellis, and it's not one soap can fix." He laughed, tried to brush it off, said I was paranoid. Maybe he was right, but I'd rather walk alone than wake up to teeth in my throat. We argued a bit, then split paths. I didn't look back. Neither did he, but I knew the truth. As I turned to leave, I caught sight of the bruise on Ellis's arm. A bite, half healed and hidden beneath his sleeve. That's when I stopped doubting. The undead aren't always monsters at first. Some still walk, talk, even eat to look human. But the decay starts from within, slow and quiet. The flies always know before we do. They never miss the scent of death. So I keep the jar close, always feeding the flies, keeping them alive. Eyes can deceive you. Instincts can fail, but flies never lie. They don't fake, don't hesitate. Some people say I'm too cautious, too jumpy, that I see danger in every shadow. Maybe I do. But in this world, paranoia isn't weakness, it's insurance. Which brings me to rule #3. The undead are not your loved ones. Rule #3. The undead are not your loved ones. They may look familiar, the same face, same voice, same way of moving, but that person is gone. What's left is just a shell wearing their smile. This is where most people die. They hesitate. They see someone they loved once and their heart stalls. In this world, hesitation is death. They hesitate, hoping for a miracle that never comes, and that's how they die. I'm not saying it's easy. It never is. But out here, survival isn't about comfort. It's about doing what must be done. If you can't pull the trigger, I don't blame you. Not everyone's built for killing. But the world doesn't care either way. If you can't bring yourself to end them, then stay far away. Don't stand there whispering their names, hoping they'll come back. They won't. They're gone, and what's left is death, wearing a familiar face. There are ways to avoid them. The flies can warn you, we've covered that. But animals, if trained right, can too. They sense what we can't long before it's too late. Barry isn't just company, he's my early warning system. He freezes the moment something's wrong, nose twitching, before I even sense danger. If his body stiffens or his head dips low, I stop breathing, stop moving. Sometimes that's all it takes, just stillness. Let the thing pass unseen. You learn to notice patterns too. The undead don't move like us. Even the fresh ones feel wrong. They move wrong, pause at doors, turn their heads too slowly, never blink. If you're not fighting, then you'd better be watching. Learn how to move, when to run, and where never to step. That's survival too. But here's the truth, you don't get to be dead weight. If you can't be strong, then be smart. If you won't carry a weapon, then carry something useful. A flare, a tripwire, anything that buys you time. Set traps behind you, always think of your exit. Travel with a fighter if you can, but never lean on them completely. I've met pacifists before, people who swear they won't kill. That's fine. But if that's your choice, you'd better prepare twice as hard. Out here, mercy without foresight is suicide. Learn to read the world around you, the silence, the smell, the shift in wind. Build tools, habits, anything that keeps you breathing. The worst kind out here, those who won't fight and won't prepare. They get people hurt, or worse, killed. I'm not saying become a killer. I'm saying know who you are before the world tests you. Know your limits. Know what lines you'll never cross and why. Everyone's clinging to something. Hope, regret, faith that the world might heal. Some fight to stay human. Others just to feel alive. Whatever your reason, hold it tight, but don't let it blind you. Out here, vision keeps you breathing. Sentiment gets you killed. Maybe the world isn't over yet. Maybe there's still a sunrise waiting past all this rot. Hope's not a sin, but it's not enough either. If you're planning to survive until the better days, then earn your place. Be useful. Pull your weight. And if you want to get good at staying alive, well, there's a rule for that too. Rule 4, always double tap. Never assume one hit finishes it ever. Shoot the skull, then finish the spine. Strike the head and crush the neck. Stomp if you must. Bodies can jerk back up hours later. Movies lie. One shot looks neat, but out here you check twice so you and your group don't wake up bleeding. I've seen bodies sit back up after lying still for an hour. No warning, no sound, then snap eyes open, arms reaching like someone waking from a nap. That's why I double tap. Always. One shot to the skull, second to the spine, if I can get the angle. In melee, I aim for the head, then crush the neck. If I must, I stomp until there's nothing left to move. No risks, no regrets. Doesn't matter the weapon, gun, axe, crowbar, hammer, use what you have. Make sure the head is destroyed, don't leave chances. Be thorough, not tidy. After that, check the chest, sometimes the body keeps moving if the heart still works. Nobody taught us that in the old broadcasts or books, everyone obsessed with the brain. Out here you learn the rest the hard way. The infection settles into both brain and heart. A headshot drops them, but if the heart's still beating, the body can keep twitching, jaw snapping, limbs crawling. I've seen one that kept crawling even after its skull leaked. The only way to be sure is to check the chest, never assume the job's done. If you've got a blade stab, deep and twist. If it's blunt, break ribs until the cracking stops. It takes strength, not mercy. That's why most survivors carry 2 weapons, one for distance, one for breaking things up close. I use a scoped rifle for range, but my short-handled sledge is what keeps me breathing. Heavy, but not too heavy. Perfect for cracking bone, it rides on my hip and I don't go anywhere without it. People ask why I bother when the dead are already lying there. Why not leave them? Save the ammo, they say? Because I've seen what happens when you don't. Once 5 of us cleared a barn we thought safe. We paid for that mistake. That's why I prepare for the worst. One of the bodies looked long, dead, dry, lifeless. Nobody bothered to double tap. We set up camp right there, laughing, relaxing, for the first time in days. Hours later, it moved. No growl, no warning, just a blur. It tore into a girl's arm before I could pull the trigger. We buried her the next morning. Nobody spoke, but after that night, everyone started checking twice. Always. That brings me to the next rule of staying alive, learn to run. Rule 5, stay limber. Sounds like a joke, right? Something a gym coach would yell before making you sprint laps in the sun. But out here, it's deadly serious. A stiff back or tight legs can be the difference between walking home and being ripped apart in a ditch. Stretch, move, stay ready, because the dead don't tire, but you will. Most folks think survival means brute strength, big guns, heavy swings, raw power. Sure, that helps, but out here it's speed that saves you. You run before the horde catches up, before hands grab your ankle or doors slam shut. Zombies never tire, but you do. That's the truth people forget. Until it's already too late. I run more than I fight, because most fights aren't fair. 1 or 2 undead, maybe I'll stand my ground, but a pack, not a chance. You turn, you run, and never look back. If your knees lock, your back cramps, or your foot twists because you skip stretching, you're done. Trust me, I learned the hard way. Let me tell you a story. It happened about a year ago. Barry and I were scavenging an old hardware store on Ridgeron's east side. The roof was caved in, shelves stripped bare, but I hoped to find wire or nails to trade. That morning I woke, stiff-slept, wrong neck, aching, shoulder pinched. I skipped my usual stretches. Big mistake. Out here, laziness can cost more than your breath. I rolled out of the bedroll, gave Barry a strip of jerky, and started walking. I thought, what's the worst that could happen? The store was quiet, too quiet. 10 minutes in, I saw the back door swaying on its hinges. Doors don't open themselves. That's when my gut tightened. Barry froze beside me, ears perked, nose twitching. Something was inside. We both knew it. Then I heard them slow dragging steps echoing off the broken tiles, the kind that make your spine tighten. I counted 1, 2, too many. My breath caught as I backed away, turning just in time to see the front entrance blocked. A pack of 6, maybe 7, all fresh, fast, hungry. No time to think, no chance to fight. I shouted for Barry and bolted toward the shelves, hoping to cut through and escape out the window we came in. I should have been faster. I should have made it out. But skipping my stretches that morning came back to bite me. My legs were stiff, ankles locked. Halfway down the aisle, my boot hit a broken paint can lid. I slipped. My knee twisted, pain flaring white hot. My elbow struck a shelf, knocking a wrench loose. It clattered across the floor loud enough to call every monster in the room. Barry doubled back, teeth bared, a low growl rumbling in his chest. I pushed myself up, fighting the limp legs, screaming in protest. Every muscle burned, but fear kept me moving. I reached the window as the first one lunged into the aisle. Barry leapt through, and I followed shoulder first into the dirt. We hit the ground hard and ran, not daring to look back for half a mile. Back at the shack, I sat groaning, rubbing my aching knee, while Barry watched from beside the stove, wearing that look only dogs can give, the kind that says, "You idiot." He tilted his head slowly, judging me in silence. Yeah, I know," I muttered. "Should have stretched." He blinked once, unimpressed. "What? You think you're better than me because you do that little downward dog thing every morning?" I asked. He just sneezed. Typical. I pointed at him. "Don't give me that look, you're not the one limping for 3 days." He yawned, flopped down, and was asleep before I finished talking. Typical. But I'll tell you this, I'd rather look like a fool stretching in the dirt than end up zombie chow because I pulled a muscle jumping a fence. Out here, survival isn't about glory, it's about staying alive. Survival isn't about looking cool, it's about doing what works even if it looks ridiculous. Stay loose, stay alive. That's the rule. It's not always about running faster, sometimes it's about climbing higher. I learned that early on. Back then, Barry was still a pup, barely able to climb into my pack by himself. He'd scramble paws, slipping tail, wagging, but he always made it. That lesson stuck with me. Back then, Barry and I traveled with a small group, but only one man really mattered, Williams. He'd been with me since the early outbreak. We met on a fuel run and stuck together ever since. Williams walked with a limp from a car wreck back in '09. His right leg never fully healed, yet he never complained. He was tougher than most, quiet, steady, and could shoot straighter than anyone I knew. We were crossing a stretch of old forest where ancient trees met scattered farmland. It felt peaceful, almost safe. Then the horde came. We never learned what drew them. Maybe a sound, maybe our scent, didn't matter. One second the world was quiet, the next it was screaming. We ran, no time to plan, nowhere to hide. I spotted a tall tree with low branches and started climbing. Below, Barry yelped, trapped between fear and instinct. I scooped Barry up, shoved him into my pack, and climbed like hell. The bark tore my palms open, but I didn't stop. Williams tried to follow, he really did, but his bad leg gave out after the first jump. He slipped, hit the ground hard. I was halfway up when I heard them crashing through the trees. The sound sticks with me even now. The cracking of branches, the heavy thud of feet, and William's screams turning wet, swallowed by the dark. His gun fired again and again, echoing through the trees. I didn't look. I just pressed my back against the trunk, holding Barry tight, counting each shot until there were none. Then silence. Then nothing. By morning, he was gone. Funny what sticks with you. Some remember faces or birthdays. Me, I remember that sound. William's last fight, every time my knees ache or I hit the ground too hard. Every time my joints ache or I curse how slow I've gotten. I think of Williams, how he couldn't climb that tree. That memory keeps me moving. I stretch, I train, I run drills, not because I think I'm faster, but because I know what happens when you're not. Speed isn't pride, it's survival. And speaking of mistakes, there's one place where even the smartest people drop their guard thinking it's safe. It never is. Here's the next rule, and it might save your life. Beware of bathrooms. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But it's true. Bathrooms are death traps wrapped in tile and mirrors. People walk in thinking it's safe, private, quiet. It's not. If you're not paying attention, that's where your story ends, kneeling beside a sink, not even knowing what hit you. I don't care how bad you need to go or how spotless that bathroom looks, don't trust it. Bathrooms kill faster than any horde on open ground. The dead don't wander in the open like before. Maybe back in the early days, they did standing in fields, roaming highways, or collapsing against shop windows under the sun. They were easy targets, then predictable exposed. But now they've learned. They wait where you feel safest. That's what makes them deadly. Now they hide, especially the old ones. They've learned that open ground means death, so they stay where light doesn't reach. Abandoned shops, storage rooms, closets, and worst of all, bathrooms. Perfect hunting grounds, small, dark, silent, with corners deep enough to disappear in. You step inside thinking it's empty. They're already breathing behind the door. Make a sound, a creak, a step, a cough, and they'll wait for it. That's how they hunt. You step too far in and they're already behind you. I never enter a closed space without knowing every exit. But bathrooms, I avoid them entirely. Haven't used one in years. Want to know why Barry and I found out the hard way in a burned out town west of the ridge? The town was nothing but ash, rust, and broken bones of buildings. Most had burned down long ago, but a few still stood crooked against the wind. One was a gas station roof, half-collapsed side door hanging open. We thought there might be supplies, so I went in first, slow and careful. Barry waited by the door. The silence was heavy, too perfect. I should have known better. I was traveling with another guy, then young, twitchy, too eager to prove himself. Said he had to pee. I told him to do it outside, but he laughed it off. "Come on, man, it's just a bathroom," he said. He walked to the back and pushed the door open. I'll never forget the sound that followed, like a dozen chairs falling at once, then screaming, then silence. I rushed back and kicked the door open, but it was too late. His arm lay by the sink, torn clean at the shoulder. The rest of him was gone. In the far corner, a heap of the dead 10, maybe more stacked like garbage bags, still and silent. They'd been waiting there for days, maybe weeks, conserving their hunger until one careless sound told them it was time to feast. They swarmed him before he could even draw his weapon. After that, I swore off bathrooms for good. I don't care about decency. Let the dead keep their plumbing. I'm not dying just for privacy. Here's the rule. If a room's small enough to echo, it's small enough to trap you. Step inside a space like that, you'd better know your exits and have someone watching your back. Always have someone waiting outside with a weapon ready. But honestly, best rule is don't go in at all. I found them hiding under sinks, crouched behind doors, packed into stalls with the lid still down. Once I saw one wedged behind an old mop closet, so dry and gray I thought it was rags. Then it moved, came close, too close. That one almost took Barry from me. It bit the strap of Barry's pack instead of his leg. I grabbed a fire extinguisher and crushed its skull until it stopped moving. We left the gas station right after that, didn't take a thing. Some places just aren't worth it. Bathrooms are traps, plain and simple. I've heard plenty of stories, same pattern. Someone just wants a moment of peace and ends up never walking out again. People think bathrooms mean safety, 4 walls, a lock, a moment to breathe. Then the door creaks open behind them, or a stall shifts, or the thing under the sink starts moving. You don't walk away from that, so don't be stupid. Don't be shy. Do your business outside like the rest of us, behind a car, under a tree, anywhere but inside. Privacy isn't worth dying for. You want to live another day, then let the dead keep their bathrooms. Those are my rules, nothing fancy, nothing written in stone, just lessons carved into scars. Take them or leave them, but they've kept me breathing this long. If they help you too, even better. Barry and I are heading east now. Could be more work, could be more dead. Either way, we'll keep moving. Who knows what's waiting out there? Doesn't matter. Barry and I have our rules, and now you've got them too. Follow them well. Stay alive. Good luck. Thank you for listening to Darkwatch Stories. If this story gave you chills, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so we can keep bringing you more. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware of what might be watching in the dark.